I'm William Hudson. It's January 1979. I live in Hadley's Hope, an overpopulated, overpolluted cesspool of crime and poverty. I'm broke and the city's a dump. I need out. If I can raise my social credit score high enough, I can leave it all behind and retire to the fields. That's why I became an investigator. My relationship with the local authorities, known as the enforcers, is strained at best. They're either clueless or just don't care about the bodies piling up, so it's up to me to do what they won't. I get a call, another murder. I head to the scene. Great. It's on the 13th floor of a high-rise. Floors this high up are known as the echelon, where only upper-class citizens live. People like me aren't allowed because my social credit score is too low. Just showing up here could get me arrested, let alone investigating a crime scene. And the enforcer's already here. The area's sealed off. Well, I guess it's time to sneak in. Ah, shit, they're inside and they saw me. Okay, second attempt. This time, I make it in. I look over the body. It appears the killer used a rifle, single shot, precise. I comb the place for clues. The victim is Marilyn Tolbert. Her journal mentions she was being stalked by a woman of average height. That's vague, not much for me to go on. I also loot the place. Hey, she won't be needing the money anymore. I dig through her emails, jot down names and addresses from her phone book, and scan for fingerprints. Oddly, the only ones I find are hers. No sign of the killer's prints. Not helpful. She believed she was stalked at a restaurant called Pistachio, so I head over. I question the staff, and I get nothing. No one remembers anything suspicious. Next stop, a place she owned, a restaurant called Thankful. Same story. The staff is unhelpful and don't know anything. Dead end. Just when I'm about to give up, I stumble into an illegal gun shop hidden in the basement. There's a sales ledger. Bingo. It shows 2 recent rifle transactions. One was sold to someone with the initials BS, and the other sold to someone with the initials AM. I look through the city directory and take note of all possible people with those initials. Only one person matches BS, but AM, there's around 7 of them. Still, it's something for me to go on. I begin going door to door, taking down their names, fingerprints, any info I can gather for my case board. In the middle of my investigation, another murder hits the wires. I arrive too late, enforcers are already here, but again, I managed to sneak in. Same MO, shot by a rifle, no fingerprints. But this time I see a cracked window, which tells me the killer shot from outside. A sniper, possibly? This would explain the lack of fingerprints in both apartments. I review the victim's emails. She was also stalked, and left additional info mentioning that her stalker had a large figure and white hair. I go back to my case board and review the notes I have on the people with the initials BS and AM, along with the info left by both victims. Female, average height, large build, short white hair. It all clicks. Alyssa Moore, AM, she's my prime suspect. I break into her apartment, her partner resists, I knock him out and handcuff Alyssa. I search her and find a sniper rifle. When pressed, she confesses with chilling ease. If they didn't want to be shot, they should have closed their curtains. Case closed. I file my report and head to City Hall. The system confirms it, my deductions were right. I get paid, and more importantly, my social credit score goes up. I'm one step closer to the fields. I go home, pour a drink, and celebrate the only way a detective in Hadley's Hope can. Alone and drunk. Welcome to Shadows of Doubt. This is one of the most unique games I've ever played in my life. It's incredibly ambitious, perhaps too ambitious for its own good. In development since 2018, this game is mostly the work of one person, Cole Jeffries. Yes, he's brought in some part-time help over the years, but this is primarily his baby. It entered early access in 2023 and was officially released in September 2024. Reviews quickly shifted from extremely positive to mixed as players expressed disappointment. The game remains buggy and suffers from performance issues, and while the concept is unique and I personally find the investigations fun, I will admit that the game is as wide as an ocean but as deep as a puddle. Still, it offers a truly unique experience, and I do recommend it because there's nothing else quite like it. Shadows of Doubt is a sandbox detective game where murders are procedurally generated. You'll face one killer at a time, and they will continue their killing spree until you catch them. After you apprehend one, a new killer will take their place about a day or two later. There are 3 handcrafted medium-sized maps, but you also have the option to randomly generate your own, controlling the size from small to extra large. Now, the size of the map is important as it also can dictate how difficult the cases may be, because larger maps have a larger population, that means more possible suspects. However, the game is extremely CPU bound, as each person is simulated in real time. So larger maps will run like shit, despite the game looking like Minecraft. And even then, the extra large maps, they still feel small. They're just a handful of city blocks arranged in a square grid. Now, the developer has admitted that the codebase is a mess. While they will continue patching and fixing bugs, major additions to improve on the depth are probably unlikely because they'll probably break more things. Those additions will possibly be saved for a potential sequel, and this kind of news is what contributed to the review bombing on Steam. I'll be honest, after solving 2 cases, you've pretty much experienced everything the game has to offer. The cases are formulaic with only minor differences between them, like the murder weapon and the location. And in between the murdered cases, there isn't much to do. You can take on side jobs that reward you with cash and/or sync disks. Sync disks are valuable passive upgrades that you can find hidden in people's safes or in other areas like offices. There are 18 of them, and they provide extremely useful upgrades, like increasing your inventory capacity, which is essential since you only have 4 slots. Realistically, it's 3, since you always need to have handcuffs on you. Other upgrades include speeding up lockpicking, boosting the chances that citizens will share information with you, and even providing you with multiple ways to earn additional income, like taking photos of bathrooms or advertising soda in your dialogue options. My favorite is probably the one that removes fall damage. However, these side jobs provide little to no useful information on your targets. You might be asked to damage someone's home, throw food in someone's face, or arrest someone, but the details about the perp are often bare bones. Sometimes you're given only minor irrelevant info, such as their salary and shoe size. How the hell am I supposed to find someone with just that information? Other times, you're only told they live in a certain apartment complex. Okay, but this apartment complex has 16 floors and 4 apartments per floor. Great. As a result, taking jobs that only pay cash isn't worth it, especially since you can find cash everywhere. And if you don't find cash, you can loot diamonds, rings, and watches in apartments and sell them at pawn shops. So I recommend just grabbing the side jobs that reward you with sync disks and hold on to them. Those jobs don't expire, and you'll unintentionally identify these targets eventually during your murder investigations. Because you'll be talking to so many people, one of them might be just the perp you're supposed to throw a hot dog at. And once you've accidentally identified them, the targets card in your notebook will update with their photo, name, and any other info you might have. Otherwise, you can sit in a restaurant, gorge on food and coffee, or buy an apartment and furnish it with random ugly furniture, or you can just kill time by sleeping. And I don't really want to spoil some of the game's overpowered mechanics, but after solving a case or two, you'll realize that some things are just more efficient to do than others. I never really found a purpose to use vents, and it's also much easier to knock down a door than risk getting caught picking a lock. Everyone has anterograde amnesia and will forget any illegal or violent action you may have caused after just a few seconds. You can't even kill people yourself. Even if you're equipped with a sword, it'll just stun them. There's no overarching story, None of the murders are connected, and the motives for killers rarely make sense. It's random. 99% of the conversations you have with people are pointless. You ask if they know the victim, and 99% of the time, they'll give you the address where the corpse is. That's not helpful. I already know where the corpse is. I was already there. You ask if they've heard anything suspicious, and they'll tell you no. Maybe 1% of the time, they might provide some useful info about the deceased or mention someone acting suspiciously, but that is very rare. And the bugs, so many bugs. I've seen people glitch through stairs and walls. I've been in areas where textures and objects fail to load. I can never select the first option in phone conversations. And those side jobs that ask you to go to a location and pick up a briefcase, if you minimize the photo of that location, you cannot open that photo back up. You can't. I don't know why. So that job is doomed. Just go ahead and cancel it. In fact, I had a whole murder case that was kind of bugged. What happened was 2 people were living together in an apartment. One was killed. I took prints, found 3 different ones. One from the victim, one from their partner, and one from the murderer. The murderer's prints were unknown, labeled simply as CR. And after spending several real-life hours investigating every single person in the victim's address book, their coworkers, their neighbors, even random people on the street, I couldn't find a single goddamn CR fingerprint. Then, the murderer struck again. I found them immediately after they left the next victim's apartment. The only description I had was long gray hair and this person fit the bill, but when I took their fingerprint, it was ED, not CR. So I actually let them go. And after getting more info that the murderer was non-binary and finding their prints in the second victim's home and these prints were ED, I said fuck it. I barged into this person's apartment, knocked out their partner with my sword, arrested them, and found a murder weapon on them. So yeah, I have no idea where those CR prints came from the first murder. As far as I know, citizens cannot change their fingerprints in this game. So all I can do is just attribute it to a bug. Yeah, it's a flawed game, but it's also fun as hell. Despite the murders being repetitive and formulaic, they're still satisfying to solve. Increasing your social credit score unlocks minor upgrades, and it feels good to achieve that success. The devs are still working on the game, and like I said earlier, while we may not expect any additional major changes, I will still welcome bug fixes and performance optimizations and, even minor additional content. They're also looking to integrate the game with Steam Workshop. Currently, there is mod support via thunderstore.io, and while the quantity may not be huge, the quality is definitely high. There are 6 additional types of murders available, along with quality of life mods that show you the hours of operations for stores and restaurants when they're closed. There's even a density mod that allows you to customize your city layout, making it as large as your CPU can handle it. And if you feel that the game is either too easy or too repetitive, there are mods that nerf the government computer database, and there's another mod that makes collecting fingerprints much more challenging. Additionally, there are a couple of more mods on Nexus Mods, including custom handcrafted maps. Some of these, particularly Rexton, are very impressive. They're larger in size and population density, while also having a layout that makes sense, as opposed to the randomness of the default city generator. So even if continued official development doesn't add much more depth to the game, the implementation of Steam Workshop will hopefully attract more modders to continue doing what the existing ones have done, and they've done a great job so far. In conclusion, Shadows of Doubt is undeniably flawed and buggy. It runs like crap depending on the map size, and it feels unfinished in many areas. However, despite these shortcomings, it offers a unique experience that stands apart from anything else on the market. And I love it. But remember, I'm the type of person willing to look past jank if a game brings something new to the table and delivers a fresh experience. I know this game isn't for everyone, but if you can live with the issues I've mentioned, then you might enjoy it too. I'm Detective William Hudson. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you folks next time.